My name is Leah Mercer. I am 27 years old, and I have been paralyzed from the waist down since the car accident that split my life into before and after. I did not go to my brother's engagement party looking for attention. I went because part of me still wanted to believe there was a family waiting for me behind all the cold smiles, forced photos, and whispered insults. I wore a soft cream blouse, brushed my hair twice, and told myself I could survive one evening in a room full of people who looked at my wheelchair before they looked at my face. I was wrong. The moment I rolled near the photo area, my brother's smile changed. Not the kind strangers could notice, but the kind I had learned to fear. He looked at my chair like it was dirt tracked across a white carpet. Then he laughed loud enough for everyone to hear and said I was faking it for sympathy. My father did not defend me. He called me the family's biggest failure, like my broken spine was some personal insult to him. My mother turned her face away, disgusted, as if helping me would ruin the perfect little picture they had built around my brother's engagement. I tried to keep my hands steady on the wheels. I tried to explain that I could not sit in the decorative chair they wanted for the photos. My brother stepped closer, his voice dropping into something cruel and excited. "Quit faking it," he said. Then he grabbed my shoulders and dragged me out of my wheelchair. I hit the floor hard. My head struck the edge of the photo platform and broken glass cut into my palm. For a few seconds, nobody moved. They all just stared at me bleeding on the floor while my brother blamed me for ruining his party. What none of them knew was that someone had already called 911. 15 minutes later, 5 officers walked through those doors, and the whole party froze. Before I tell you what happened after that, tell me what the weather is like where you are today. Does it feel calm, heavy, or just as unpredictable as the night my family finally got exposed? An hour before my brother put his hands on me, the engagement party still looked like the kind of evening people posted online to prove their lives were perfect. The venue was Skyline Glass Hall, a rooftop event space in Charlotte with glass walls, polished stone floors, and a city view that made every guest stop for photos. White orchids hung from gold frames. Champagne-colored candles lined the tables. A pale rose wall stood behind the photo area, with my brother and his fiancée's initials glowing in soft light. It looked expensive enough to make kindness feel out of place. My brother was Nolan Mercer, 32, handsome, ambitious, and working as a project development director for a luxury hotel group. That night mattered to him for more than love. Many guests were connected to his company, his investors, or the promotion he wanted. His fiancée, Claire Whitmore, moved through the room in a champagne silk dress, smiling nervously like she was trying to keep up with the perfect man she thought she knew. My parents stood near the bar, proud and stiff. My father, Charles Mercer, had been a police consultant after leaving the force, and he still acted like every room owed him respect. My mother, Vivian Mercer, chaired charity committees and loved being photographed beside causes like inclusion and disability awareness. But when her own daughter rolled in, her smile tightened like I had brought bad weather inside. The dress code was white, gold, and champagne. I had tried. I wore a cream blouse, a beige skirt, and even wrapped a gold scarf around the side of my chair. But my wheelchair was matte black, custom fitted, and the only reason I could move through the world without asking permission. To me, it was freedom. To them, it was a stain. Nolan noticed the chair before he noticed me. His eyes dropped to the wheels, then lifted to my face with the same old disappointment, as if my spinal cord injury was a choice I kept making to embarrass him. He kissed the air beside my cheek and said, "Leah, you made it." Not warmly, just surprised, almost disappointed. I told him congratulations. I wanted to mean it. There had been a time when I believed he wanted me in his life, before the accident, before the hospital. before my family built an entire lie around my silence. Nolan glanced toward the photo wall and lowered his voice. Just try not to park yourself in every picture tonight, okay? Claire has been stressed. I moved toward the side of the room, near a pillar where I could see the party without blocking anyone's path. I was always calculating space, exits, rugs, table legs, and people stepping backward without looking. I had spent 2 years making myself smaller for other people's comfort. But even in the corner, I was still too visible. My mother came over first, holding a champagne flute. She leaned down, still smiling at the room, and whispered, "Could you move farther from the main area? The photographer is getting background shots." I asked where she wanted me to go. Her eyes flicked toward the hallway near the restrooms. "Just somewhere less central, sweetheart. This is Nolan's night." My father joined her and did not bother whispering. "Leah, why does everything have to become about you?" I stared at him. I had barely spoken. He looked at my wheelchair, then the guests, then me. "You always find a way to remind people you're broken." A woman near the dessert table turned slightly. She was elegant, maybe in her 40s, wearing a navy dress and a doctor's calm expression. I did not know her yet, but I noticed the concern in her eyes. My father continued, "You could have made an effort. Your brother is trying to build a future. Don't make this weird." I wanted to say I once had a future too. I wanted to say Nolan had been driving the night mine was destroyed. Instead, I swallowed it, because for 2 years my family had trained me to protect the person who hurt me. I rolled toward the terrace doors. Behind me, Nolan laughed with men from his company. Then I heard my name. "She exaggerates everything," he said. "The doctors never said she couldn't improve, but Leah likes being taken care of." Someone murmured something. Nolan laughed softly. "Yeah, it gets her sympathy. You know how family drama is." I kept my hands on my wheels and looked straight ahead. If I reacted, I was emotional. If I stayed silent, I looked guilty. Either way, Nolan won. But the woman in the navy dress had moved closer, pretending to examine the flowers. She looked at me once, asking with her eyes if I was okay. I gave the smallest nod. Then the event coordinator clapped and announced family photos. Nolan turned across the room and found me immediately. His smile returned. Perfect for the guests, but his eyes were cold. He pointed toward the photo wall, then looked at my wheelchair. "Not with that chair in the picture," he said. The photo area looked like a magazine cover. A low acrylic platform sat before the rose wall, with 2 gold lounge chairs in the center for Nolan and Claire, and smaller chairs around them for family. I knew the problem before anyone said it. Those chairs were beautiful, narrow, and unsafe for someone with my injury. I could transfer onto certain surfaces if they were stable, the height was right, and I had time. But that was not the same as being forced onto a decorative chair on a slick platform in front of 80 people. My T12 injury meant I had no reliable balance below my waist. I could not feel my legs. I could not brace myself if I tipped. I could not become able-bodied just because the photograph looked better that way. I rolled closer and stopped at the platform edge. Claire gave me a small, uncertain smile. Nolan stepped beside me and bent down as if he were being gentle. "The photographer is ready," he said through his teeth. "Just sit in the chair for 2 minutes." I kept my voice low. "Nolan, I can't sit there safely. My chair is fine. Put me on the end if you want." He laughed without humor. "You always have an excuse." Guests nearby smiled because they thought they were supposed to. My mother adjusted flowers that did not need adjusting. My father folded his arms. Claire looked confused. I tried again. "I'm not refusing to be difficult. I need support. If I lose balance, I'll fall." Nolan straightened, raising his voice enough for the front row to hear. "Isn't it amazing how the injury appears exactly when the attention moves away from her?" A few people laughed nervously. My face burned. I looked at my father, hoping for decency. He gave none. "Just try for once, Leah. Stop embarrassing us," my mother whispered. "Please don't make a scene." That sentence had followed me my whole life. Don't make a scene when Nolan lied. Don't make a scene when he took things. Don't make a scene when I woke up in a hospital and told the truth about who had been driving. Don't make a scene when my family decided his future mattered more than my body. I gripped my wheels and said, "No." It was not loud. It did not need to be. Nolan's jaw tightened. He stepped closer, blocking my view. "You think you can humiliate me in front of my company?" he whispered. "You think this is your stage?" I shook my head. "I just want to stay in my chair." Something in him snapped quietly first. His hand dropped to the brake on my right wheel. Click. Then the other brake. Click. My chair was locked. The woman in the navy dress moved sharply from the side of the room. I saw her hand go to her phone. Nolan did not notice. He was too busy smiling at the crowd like a man performing Patience. "I'm going to help my sister join the family photo," he announced. "She gets anxious and dramatic. Leah, stop making this harder." My heart slammed against my ribs. "Nolan, don't touch me." The room went quiet enough that I heard a glass touch a table. Claire said his name softly, warning him. He ignored her. He leaned down and grabbed my upper arms. Not gently, not to assist a transfer. Like I was luggage. I dug my fingers into the armrests. "Stop. I can't balance." He lowered his face close to mine and hissed, "Quit faking it for sympathy." Then he pulled. My body came forward before I could protect myself. My hips slid wrong. My legs twisted beneath me, heavy and useless. I reached for the wheel, the platform, anything, but his grip jerked me sideways and up. For one terrible second, I hung between my chair and the floor, knowing exactly what was about to happen and unable to stop it. Then he let go. Maybe he lost his grip. Maybe he realized people were watching. Maybe he wanted the fall to look like my fault. I hit the edge of the acrylic platform first. White light burst behind my eyes. My shoulder slammed into the floor. A tray of champagne flutes crashed beside me, and glass scattered across the polished stone. My right palm landed in it. Pain shot through my hand, hot and immediate. My head rang. My lower body lay twisted at an angle I could not feel but could see, which somehow made it worse. No one breathed. The music stopped. The photographer lowered his camera. Claire covered her mouth. My mother gasped, but did not say my name. My father did not move. Nolan stood above me, chest rising, face red. For one impossible second, I thought he might realize what he had done. Instead, he looked at the broken glass, the blood, the guests staring, and said, "Look what you made me do. You ruined my engagement photos." That was when I stopped feeling embarrassed. Embarrassment belongs to people who still think they owe the room an apology. I was bleeding because my brother had dragged me out of my wheelchair, and my family cared more about the photograph. The woman in the navy dress pushed through the crowd and dropped beside me. "Nobody touch her," she said sharply. "She has a spinal cord injury. Do not move her." Nolan scoffed. "She's fine. She does this." The woman looked up at him, her voice turning cold. "I am a physician," she said, "and I have already called 911. Her name was Dr. Priya Rao, and she was the first person in that room who treated me like a human being instead of a problem." She placed one hand near my shoulder and the other beside my head, careful not to twist my neck. "Leah, can you hear me?" she asked. I whispered yes. "Good. Do not try to move. Keep your eyes on me if you can. You are not alone." Those words nearly broke me more than the fall. I had not heard anything like that from my family in 2 years. Nolan stepped back. suddenly aware of how many phones were pointed at him. "This is ridiculous," he said, forcing a laugh. She slipped. Everyone saw her slip. Dr. Rao did not look away from me. "I saw you lock her wheels before you touched her. I saw you grab her upper arms. I heard her tell you not to touch her. That is not a slip." A murmur moved through the guests. Nolan shifted from anger to calculation. He looked at Claire. "Babe, tell them. I was helping." Claire stared at him like she had never seen him before. "I didn't know what to say," she whispered. My father finally moved, not toward me, but toward Dr. Rao. "Ma'am, this is a family matter. You're making accusations you don't understand." Dr. Rao looked up slowly. "A disabled woman is bleeding on the floor after being pulled from her mobility device. That is not a family matter. That is an emergency." My father's mouth tightened. Years of being obeyed had not prepared him for someone who did not care about his tone. My mother hovered near Nolan, crying now, but her eyes kept darting toward the guests. She was measuring damage, not my pain. Nolan crouched suddenly, reaching toward me like he remembered cameras existed. "Leah, come on. Tell them it was an accident. Tell them I was helping." Dr. Rao snapped. "Step back now." Nolan froze. A man in a gray suit stepped forward. I had seen him earlier with Nolan's coworkers. His face was pale but steady. "I have the video," he said. Nolan turned on him. "Marcus, don't." The man, Marcus Bell, held up his phone with shaking hands. "I started recording when you locked her wheels. I thought you were about to do something stupid. I didn't think you would actually pull her out of the chair." Nolan's eyes widened. "You're misunderstanding what you saw." Marcus shook his head. "No, I'm done misunderstanding you." Then the elevator doors opened. Heavy footsteps entered the hall. One officer came in first, then another, then three more behind them. 5 officers in dark uniforms walked into a room full of cream flowers, gold candles, and terrified wealthy people, and the whole engagement party froze. The lead officer saw everything within seconds. A woman on the floor, blood on stone, a wheelchair locked several feet away, broken glass, guests filming, one man sweating through an expensive suit. "Who called 911? Dr. Rao raised one hand without moving the other from beside my head. "I did. I am Dr. Priya Rao. I witnessed the assault and requested medical response for a spinal cord injury." "Assault?" Nolan barked. "Are you insane?" My father stepped in front of him. "Officer, I'm Charles Mercer. I worked with law enforcement for years. This is being blown out of proportion. My daughter is emotional, and my son was only trying to help her into a chair." The lead officer looked at him. "Sir, step back." My father did not. "I'm telling you, this is a misunderstanding. Sir, step back now, or you will be removed." That was the first time I had ever seen my father obey someone while angry. Paramedics entered with a stretcher. Dr. Rao gave a clear report. 27-year-old female, known spinal cord injury, pulled from wheelchair, head impact, right palm laceration, possible concussion, unknown cervical involvement. The paramedics moved carefully. For the first time that night, my body was handled with respect. While they checked my pupils and wrapped my hand, Marcus showed the video to the lead officer. I could not see the screen, but I heard Nolan breathing harder. Another guest spoke up. "I saw it too." Then another. He yelled at her first. A server said, "We have security cameras facing the platform. I can get the manager." Nolan's face drained of color. Claire stepped away from him. He reached for her wrist. "Claire, don't do this." She pulled back. "Don't touch me." The officer approached Nolan. "Sir, turn around and place your hands behind your back." Nolan laughed in disbelief. "You can't arrest me at my own engagement party. You are being detained while we investigate an assault causing injury. Turn around." My mother cried out, "Charles, do something." But my father could do nothing. Not with 5 officers, not with video, not with witnesses, not with Dr. Rao still kneeling beside me in broken champagne glass. Nolan looked at me, and there was no apology in his eyes. Only fury. "Leah, tell them it was an accident. Tell them right now." For 2 years, I had told lies to protect him. That night, I gave him silence. The handcuffs clicked around his wrists. Claire slipped off her engagement ring and held it in her palm. She did not scream. She simply stared at the man she almost married. As paramedics lifted me onto the stretcher, Nolan shouted my name. My mother sobbed that I was destroying the family. My father looked at me with hatred dressed as disappointment. But the guests had seen enough. The elevator doors closed between me and the party, and for the first time since the accident, I understood that the truth could still move, even when my legs could not. At the hospital, pain came in waves. My head throbbed. My right hand burned where glass had cut my palm, and my shoulder felt like someone had driven a nail through it. The scan showed no new spinal damage, which was good news. But people who say that rarely understand what old spinal damage already took. Dr. Rao stayed until I was settled. She spoke with the emergency physician, made sure my injury history was recorded correctly, and gave me her card. "If your family tries to pressure you, call me," she said. "Not just for medical advice, if they try to make you doubt what happened." I looked at her, too tired to hide my surprise. She had seen families like mine before. The next morning, my parents arrived before breakfast. My mother wore sunglasses indoors. My father looked sleepless, but anger kept him standing. Neither asked how my head felt. Neither asked how many stitches were in my hand. My mother started with, "Leah, honey, we need to talk about Nolan." Of course they did. My father closed the door. "Your brother spent the night in holding because of this mess." "Because of this mess," I repeated. His jaw tightened. "Don't twist my words." He made a mistake. He was under pressure. Executives were there. Claire's family was there. You know how sensitive he is about being embarrassed. My hand pulsed under the bandage. He dragged me out of my wheelchair. My mother sat beside the bed and reached for me. I moved my hand away. Her face crumpled. Not with guilt, but offense. "Leah, he is your brother. He is about to lose everything. His promotion, his engagement, his career. You have no idea what this could do to him." I stared at her. I know exactly what losing everything feels like. Silence filled the room. That was the rule in our family. We could talk about Nolan's stress, Nolan's mistakes, Nolan's future, and Nolan's reputation. We did not talk about the accident unless everyone agreed it was tragic and nobody's fault. Then a woman knocked once and entered. She wore a navy blazer and carried a leather folder. "Leah Mercer? I'm Avery Brooks. Dr. Rao asked me to stop by if you were willing to speak with an attorney." My father stood. "She does not need an attorney." Avery looked at him, then at me. "That is up to Leah." I said, "I want to talk to her." My mother whispered, "Leah, don't be dramatic." Avery looked at my bandaged hand and the bruises forming on my arms. "I think we are past dramatic." My father told her to leave. Avery calmly said that if he interfered with a victim's access to counsel, she would ask hospital security to remove him. My parents stepped into the hallway furious. Avery sat beside me and explained what could happen next. Criminal charges were already moving forward. Because I was disabled and because Nolan had pulled me from a mobility device, the case had aggravating factors. There was also potential for a civil claim, not just for the assault, but for emotional distress, medical costs, and the history connected to the original accident if evidence supported it. I asked what she meant. She opened the folder. "Dr. Rao mentioned that your family may have concealed facts related to the crash that caused your paralysis." I felt the air leave my lungs. For 2 years, I had treated that truth like a locked box. Avery waited, so I told her. I told her Nolan had been driving after a company celebration. I told her he had been drinking enough that I begged him to let me call a rideshare. He laughed and said he was fine. He kept checking his phone because he was arguing with someone from work. I remembered the glow of the screen, the curve in the road, the sharp movement of the wheel, the metal folding around us. I told her I woke up after surgery with my mother crying and my father saying Nolan could not survive a criminal record. They said family protects family. They asked me to say I did not clearly remember who was driving. Later, when questions stopped, they changed the story completely. Bad road, rain, fate, anything except Nolan. Avery took notes without interrupting. When I finished, my throat felt raw. Then Claire came. She stood at the door holding untouched coffee, eyes swollen from crying. I expected to hate her, but she looked like another person waking up from Nolan's performance. "I am so sorry," she said. "I believed him. He told me you caused the accident. He said you had been drinking and grabbed the wheel." My stomach turned. Even after everything, I had not known he had gone that far. Claire handed Avery her phone. "Nolan sent me messages about it when we started dating. He said your parents helped handle the insurance because you were unstable. I saved everything." Avery looked at me. "Leah, this matters." My parents came back in just as Claire was leaving. My father saw Avery's folder, saw Claire's face, and understood that the walls were moving. "Leah," he said, voice low with warning. "Be very careful." I looked at him, and for the first time in 2 years, I did not feel like his frightened daughter. I felt like a witness. "No," I said. "I was careful for 2 years. Now I'm going to be honest." The video from the engagement party spread faster than anyone expected. First, it moved through private group chats, then local pages, then gossip accounts that loved beautiful people falling apart in expensive rooms. Someone blurred my face, but Nolan's was clear. His voice was clear too. "Quit faking it for sympathy." That sentence followed him everywhere. Within 48 hours, the hotel group suspended him. Their statement used cold corporate words about values and investigation, but everyone knew the truth. Nolan Mercer, the Golden Son, the rising executive, had become a public liability. Claire ended the engagement through her attorney. She did not meet him, did not call him, did not give him one last emotional scene to control. She returned the ring in a velvet box with no note inside. My parents tried to reach me from blocked numbers. My mother cried that I was destroying Nolan's life. My father said I had turned one mistake into a family war. When I refused to answer, they contacted Avery. That was their next mistake. Avery collected everything. Marcus gave his video and statement. The venue gave security footage showing Nolan lock my wheelchair before pulling me forward. Dr. Rao wrote a medical statement explaining how dangerous it was to drag a person with a spinal cord injury from a mobility device. Then Avery found the old records from the crash. There was a bar receipt from the night Nolan had been driving. Phone records showed texts sent minutes before the accident. A hospital intake note said I had repeatedly told a nurse my brother was driving and looking at his phone. My family had buried the truth socially, but they had not erased it completely. When Nolan's attorney saw the evidence, the threats stopped. They wanted a plea deal. Avery explained it to me in the hospital. Nolan would plead guilty, accept probation, short jail time, no contact, community service, and a formal admission of fault. In return, he would avoid a long public trial. The civil settlement would be $410,000. That money would cover medical bills, future therapy, accessibility changes, pain, suffering, and the damage caused by years of lies. The number did not feel real. I had spent 2 years fighting insurance over wheelchair repairs, therapy, medication, and basic equipment. Now the truth had a price. And for once, I was not the one paying it. My parents came to the hospital looking ruined. My father said they would have to sell the lake house, drain retirement accounts, sell his Mustang, and take a loan against their home. My mother whispered that this would cripple them financially. The word cripple hung in the air. I looked at them and said, "Now you know what it feels like when someone else's choices destroy your future." They said they had only done what was best for the family. I said, "No, you did what was best for Nolan." There is a difference. 7 days later, the wire cleared. They sold the lake house for less than it was worth, drained their savings, and borrowed the rest. 2 days after that, Nolan stood in court and pleaded guilty to assault causing injury. He received 90 days in jail, 5 years of probation, mandatory anger management, 600 hours of community service with a disability support organization, and a no-contact order. As part of the settlement, he admitted his actions were intentional and harmful. Those words mattered more than the money. Not misunderstood, not dramatic, not an accident. Intentional and harmful. Nolan lost his job before reporting to jail. His promotion vanished. His professional network went silent. Claire's family removed every photo of him. My parents stopped hosting dinners because nobody wanted to sit at their table and pretend not to know. When Nolan came out, he did not return to high-rise offices or business lunches. He took night shifts at a logistics warehouse outside the city. People asked if I felt happy. I did not know how to answer. I was not happy my family broke. I was not happy it took blood on a floor for people to believe me. But when I saw Nolan's signature under the admission of fault, I slept through the night for the first time in 2 years. 18 months later, I woke up in a home where every doorway belonged to me. My new apartment had wide halls, smooth floors, a roll-in shower, lowered counters, and a balcony filled with morning sun. I bought it with part of the settlement, not because money healed what Nolan did, but because it gave me choices my family had taken away. I used the rest for physical therapy, adaptive equipment, medical care, and building my remote accessibility consulting business. At first, it was just me and my laptop, helping companies design websites and apps for people whose bodies did not fit the world's lazy assumptions. Then clients came. Then referrals. Then a nonprofit asked me to speak to newly injured patients about independent living. I almost said no. I did not feel inspirational. I was just someone who had survived a family that confused silence with loyalty. But I went, and I told them the truth. Losing mobility is hard, but losing the right to be believed can hurt even more. Asking for access is not begging. A wheelchair is not a symbol of failure. It is a tool of freedom. Afterward, a young woman took my hand and said, "I thought my life was over. Now I think maybe it is just different." That stayed with me longer than any apology. Nolan did send one eventually. He wrote that he was sorry for humiliating me, sorry for the accident, and sorry for hating my wheelchair because it reminded him of what he had done. I read the letter twice. I cried for the brother I wished he had been, and the parents I wished had protected me. But I did not answer. Forgiveness is not a door you are required to open. Sometimes it is putting the letter away, breathing without hatred, and keeping the lock changed. My parents kept sending messages through relatives. Your mother is heartbroken. Your father is not well. Nolan is trying. Families make mistakes. But every message carried the same hidden demand. Come back and make us feel innocent again. I did not. The lesson I learned is simple. Blood is not a contract that requires you to stay where you are being harmed. Respect is not optional because someone shares your last name. Love that demands your silence is not love. It is control. Boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are how wounded people stop the wound from becoming their whole identity. Now, on quiet evenings, I sit beside the small garden on my balcony. My phone sometimes buzzes with messages from people in my support group, people learning hand controls, accommodations, and how to stop apologizing for needing space. One night, a new friend from rehab texted, "You helped me believe I still have a future." I looked at those words and finally understood justice. It was not Nolan losing his career. It was not my parents selling their lake house. Justice was waking up where nobody called me a burden. Justice was choosing people who saw my chair and still looked me in the eyes. Justice was turning my pain into valuable knowledge that could help someone else survive. Sometimes choosing yourself over family feels like betrayal, but sometimes it is the first honest lesson in survival, self-respect, and freedom.